Good evening. Welcome to the show tonight. This is a very special edition. It's Traci Lynn Cowan reporting live with Hollywood Vibe Entertainment and the TLC Unleashed Network. We are here live today with this young, beautiful woman who has such an inspiring, wonderful story that I would love to share with the world. I would like to welcome to the show Haven Shepherd.
Oh, hello. Hi, I'm Haven. To tell you a little bit about my story, I am a below-knee amputee, and when I was born in Vietnam, I had two parents that were not married, and they had an affair and had me, and the only way in Vietnam they thought they could be together was committing a family suicide. So they strapped bombs onto themselves and held me, and all the damage was done to my legs. But I was adopted when I was 20 months old, I think, and, lived in America ever since.
I have tears in my eyes listening to the story, and we had talked a little bit before, and just the spirit of this young woman is so admirable, and I just, you just light up this room, and I can't even imagine how something like that changed your life. I mean, I know you were born from this situation, but you turned this situation into such a victory. And we're going to get into what you're doing now at such a tender young age and talented young age. She's 15 years old, right?
Yes, I just turned 15. I just got my permit. It's very exciting.
This is exciting. So let's go back a little bit, Haven, because I want to touch on, I guess in Vietnam, so what happens is when you have a child out of wedlock and it's the family looks upon it and frowns upon it, is that right?
Yeah, in Vietnam, women can't divorce husbands, so I feel like they thought the only way they could be together is to commit a family suicide for them to be together forever. So I just think of it in that way, how they loved each other, and so they wanted what was best for them. And so they were married to different people, and situations happen.
Yeah. And so you were about approximately 20 months old.
The explosion happened when I was 14 months old, and I was adopted when I was 20 months old.
Okay. So there was a period of time that you spent with probably in the hospital and things like that, and rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't remember, but I think my mom knows. But I was probably in the hospital for like 41 days, 42 days, something like that. But it was crazy because people at the hospital actually donated to me when the accident happened, and they were donating money for me to stay in the hospital, and I thought that was really cool to find out this year. I found out this year. I thought it was pretty cool.
How did you find that out? That is so amazing.
The people that went over to get me with my mom, they actually still work in Vietnam, so they brought me a newspaper article of when it happened, and then that's what it said in the newspaper, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow, that is amazing how people rally together. And I mean, these were strangers as well that heard your story.
Yeah, I was in the hospital with my grandma, so it's just crazy how people reach out, and it's just a tiny world.
And I love it. And the story of your mom, I mean, she's just such an angelic woman, and I call people like your mother, Shelley, life angels. And she is definitely that. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. I can't describe her. She is the most amazing mom. I feel like nobody could have raised me like I am today if I didn't have her. I am very strong-willed, so I think if I didn't have a mom that was also strong-willed, we would have clashed a lot. But growing up, like being a teenager, let's just be real. Being a teenager is rough. So I'm the seventh child, so she had to deal with a lot of teenagers. So I was thinking, this is her seventh child. Like, I'm the baby. I am going to be I'm going to have so much time by myself and get to do whatever I want. But then after I think I turned 13, it was the teenage years were catching up to me, and my mom was like, no, we're not doing this. So
she's tough. I like that. Well, at this time right now, I would actually like to bring onto the show Haven's mom, Shelley Shepard. Hello, beautiful lady. Welcome to the show. We're going to get nice and cozy and tight here. I just want to welcome you to the show today and tell everybody what your part of the story is and how this all happened and how Haven came into your life.
Oh my, it was, I like to say that I fought for Haven before I ever even knew who she was. We had 6 biological children, and I just began to have this knowing that we were supposed to adopt. And one of my best friends from high school had went through a terrible tragedy. Her 15-year-old son came home from football practice and died of a sudden heart attack. And in her journey to survive that, they ended up in Vietnam and took his memorial money and started a work there. And they adopted 2 children from Vietnam. And they had just been approached to ask if they would support opening a small handicap shelter. And so they began to work on that. And the man that was opening that he had read about Haven in the newspaper, and he contacted her grandparents and traveled up to Da Nang to the hospital and asked them if they were able to take care of her. And they said no, they were too poor to take care of her, and asked if they could put her in that shelter. And so from that, she began to do research about, is a handicap shelter the best we can do for this child? And she found a way to do a medical visa and to bring her in the United States. And so we went with them to go get her, and not even really realizing that she was going to be our child, but we fell in love, and we have been pretty much inseparable ever since.
That is amazing. I have tears in my eyes. It must have been love at first sight. I mean, I feel like I was there in that moment with you.
Yeah, it was so many signs. I wasn't the woman that was like, oh, we can take a special needs child in. I knew we had like 14 sports schedules going on. And one of the last things was my 9-year-old daughter said, why can't this be our baby we've been waiting for? And I said, oh, no, we need a child that has feet. Like, you got to go, because we were extremely busy. And I can remember the moment that we were waiting to get her shots to get her out of the country and have a physical exam. And she'd put on my great big sunglasses, and I had flipped her down and flipped her back up, and she just belly laughed. And like literally inside of me, I could feel her being conceived inside of me. And it's just like God opened my eyes and said, this is your child. And, it was just so special because it wasn't necessarily something planned, but it was something that, a higher power had planned. And, she just fit into, we have 5 daughters. She was the 5th one. And, we thought maybe being handicapped, I didn't know anything about handicapped children or people, or, until it comes into your world, you don't know anything. And, people would ask me, like, so what are you going to do about this or that? And I was like, I don't know. All my other kids got feet. So, I'm just winging it, and so we learned, and I could just see the signs, like, she honestly chose us. And she made it very clear that this was the family that she was supposed to be in. And all of the Shepherd women are very strong and outgoing, and she fits in perfect.
I love that. That's amazing. And it's like you say, you don't know what you don't know, and you're going in with blind faith. And if we're connected and in touch with certain things in life, we just have that feeling of knowing this is the right thing. And it sounds like that's exactly what happened for you. I want to know when you realized what had happened and what had happened to your parents and what had happened to you. And when did that all come out, and who was the one to tell you that?
Well, I've always heard it from a very young age. My mom actually read a book about adopted children that never let them remember a time where you sat them down and told them this big, dark, deep secret. And so she always told me my story, like when people would ask me about ask her about me, and so I've always heard it. But when I was 5, I got out of the bathtub. I don't really remember this, but she's told me. But I was 5, and I got out of the bathtub, and I asked her, I was like, what did happen to my feet? And she told me the story and everything. And she said I sat there for a long time, and I had 2 questions. She was like, well, that was stupid. I said, and then my other question was, where do you even get a bomb in Vietnam? And then I ran off and played, and that was it. That was the last time I've ever talked to Ash really questioned about it.
Is that exactly the story?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's the way she would process things.
Yeah.
And, I just thought it was so wise, because after I told her the whole story, she was like, well, that was stupid. And I was like, well, that kind of sums it up, And there were times that I thought she remembered. I can remember her telling some of her little friends in kindergarten that had come over to play this big story about she remembers the fire and all the noise and she was describing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, she remembers. And then she starts saying, yeah, and then these fire trucks came and these big firemen, and they carried me out, and like we were in very, very remote parts of the jungle. And I was like, okay, she's embellishing the story. Like she's heard me tell it, and now she's making it even better for her friends. So
You have to glamorize it, right? Of course. It's all about glamour.
fire trucks there, I can guarantee you.
I love that. That's adorable. So I do want to talk on a serious note. Do you remember anything from that day?
Oh, no. Probably the youngest memory I have is when we had, I have 6 other siblings. So when one moved out, another kid came in. So we had this lady living with us, and she was Japanese. And I remember she would smoke outside. Mom wouldn't let her smoke inside. And I remember looking through the window, and she wouldn't let me go outside with her. And I remember her smoking, and she would wait for me to come back in. That's my earliest memory.
How old were you then?
Like 3.
Yeah, 3, 4.
So looking back, I know you had touched on it a little bit. How do you feel, when you do think about your parents? What are the feelings that you have?
A lot of adopted children feel a lot of resentment, and I was like, and don't do any of that. Like, they gave you a better life to come over to America. Like, why do you need to be angry at your biological parents because they gave you up to give you a better life? Because that's the honest truth. Because you want to be here doing your life, and I don't get why people get so angry when they're like, well, my mom told me that I was adopted and my other parents didn't want me. I was like, yeah, because it's true. They didn't want you. But guess what? A new family did. So I just don't buy into the feeling sorry for myself, because like I have a amazing new family that I love, and get to live my days throughout my little country town. So I love it.
You have such a phenomenal attitude in life. I love the way that you think, because you're right. A lot of people can take that and run with it and play the victim role. And, it sounds to me like they made the ultimate sacrifice for you to have this beautiful life with the family that you were meant to be with. And it's a very good connection. I can feel the vibe and the energy from both of you. And you are living a beautiful life now. Let's talk about what life is like now for you. So, a Paralympic swimmer. So let's talk about that. How did you get into swimming? When did that come about, and how long have you been doing that for?
I've been a Paralympic swimmer for about 5 years, I think. But when I actually started swimming, I was actually in track. So I was a track star for like 2 years or something. And there was a swim clinic at this track meet I was at, and Mom was like, Haven, you should go try, because we had a pool back at home. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm a runner. Like, I don't need to swim. But as soon as I got in the water, I just loved it. And I think like 6 months later, my uncle is a swim coach, so I went down to Tulsa, and he trained me for a couple days before I went out to my very first swimming ever. Was at the Colorado Olympic Training Center, and it's called the Jimmy Flower Swim Meet, and that was my first swim meet ever. And so I got classified, and I remember I was getting classified, and the head board, Queenie, was like, so how long you been swimming? And I was like, oh, like 4 days ish. Okay. Yeah, like a couple days. And she was like, oh, I need to see you in the water. But after that, I just loved the sport. I loved competing. I loved how the water made me feel, because in track you have to wear these really uncomfortable running legs. Okay. And I don't like to wear my running legs. They hurt, and I just never feel really stable. But when I get in the water, I feel very free. I don't have to wear any of my prosthetics, and I think that's what a thing I love about swimming the most.
The freedom of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So you've been doing that for 5 years now. Mm-hmm. And so did you always know that you were an athlete? Did you have it in your heart? Because I think when you're an athlete, you just know you're an athlete no matter what.
Yeah. Like I said, I have 6 brothers and sisters, and no, I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. Yeah. It gets kind of mixed up. they all kind of fall into the mix. But a couple of my earliest memories are when I'm at the gym with my brother playing basketball. He played D2 in college, and then my sister played volleyball in college, and all my other sisters did track, and my brother Star played varsity at high school. So I was always surrounded by sports. Like, my whole summer was packed of going to Sawyer's baseball games and going to Chloe's volleyball games, and heading from baseball to the track, because Ivy ran track, and so it was always I was always surrounded by it, and so I never thought I would be like playing the piano or something. Which now that I'm older, I looked at Mom over there. I was like, why didn't you like sign me up for something? Like, I could have played
we have time.
Yeah, I was like, I told her, I was like, I could have played the violin. Like, we had a basement. I could have played down there. Like,
wrong family.
Or drums.
Yeah, drums. Yeah. So, but I definitely don't regret. Like, I love my life. I loved the crazy schedule we had, and we're such a close family. So, I always knew I was going to be a track star. Not a track star. I always knew I was going to be an athlete, because, like, well, what else am I going to do? I'm going to be at the gym all the time. Well, might as well I should be here. So I started out in track. I really didn't like track. I hurt, and you shouldn't start running if you start crying every time you start to run. Yeah. And your family yelling at you, and it's like, I'm trying. That's what I like about swimming also. You can't hear anybody cheering for you.
You can't.
Or yelling at you.
Yeah,
right. You can't hear anything. That's perfect. I love that. That's great. So I want to know too, I mean, having, people that have handicaps or disabilities or whatever you want to label it as, we all label it something different. In your mind, how did you push past that and say, you know what, it doesn't matter what I'm dealing with, the cards are dealt, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be my best? Because a lot of people, suffer in this area and really, fall into that trap of being stuck or being the victim. How did you become out of that?
Well, I was never allowed to get to that place, because I had a mother that was very strong-willed, and I had 4 extra sisters, and I don't think I ever allowed myself to go to that place, because in my eyes I wasn't disabled. I didn't look like all my sisters are like tall, blonde, and beautiful. They all look like Barbies, and so when I was growing up, I was like, oh well, I'm going to look like Ivy today. And she always put on mascara. And I remember just going down to the basement where her room was, and, just spending time with her. So I always felt like my sisters never let me feel like the black sheep of the family. Because I was like, well, I'm going to be like Hannah, because she runs track. And so I never looked at anything different when I was growing up.
I love that.
And we had a game that we played from the time she was really little, the advantages of not having feet. And so we were just constantly putting that positivity into her. Like, I would never look at it. And, I think that's what I love, because she honestly has never looked at it like it's a negative, her not having feet. She realizes that she gets to do the things that she gets to do because she doesn't have feet, not in spite of. And like, we would just play a game, and I'd say, so like, we went to the water park and all the rest of our feet were burning, and she could walk without sandals, and or she would love to make us all laugh and go out and get the mail in the snow, and so we had this whole long running list of the advantages of not having feet. She actually has a funny story about playing hide and seek with her brother-in-law. Do you want to tell that?
Oh yeah, you already got me into it. So,
Go ahead.
I think it was when my sister and my brother-in-law were dating, and they were babysitting me. And he was a professional bullfighter. So he has horses and he has cows and he has a little like ranch house. So we were going on with our day. I was feeding the horses, I was doing all the chores, and by the time it was lunchtime, he was like, "Hey, let's play a game." And so Ivy was it. So we made her go outside and she had to count. And she was like, "Haven, come here." So he took off my legs and put me he put me in the cabinet above the fridge, and he put my legs under the bed to make Ivy think I was under the bed. And when Ivy
Decoy.
yeah, so when Ivy pulled my legs, she was like, "Where's Haven?" That was a fun hour and a half.
Up in the cabinet?
Yeah, did you sit in the cabinet that whole time?
Well, he was like, "Don't say anything." I was like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
She would have never fit in that cabinet if she had all of her legs. So that went on our list of the advantages.
That had to go on that list too. You should do a book on the list of the benefits of that, right?
It'd be her book.
So let's talk about being a Paralympian. What's next for you? So what's on the agenda? What are you doing now? And what does your schedule look like?
I just had my swim meet a couple days ago. It was kind of a low-key meet where I could just kind of see my friends and have fun. But when I get back to Missouri, I have to buckle down really good for my big swim meet in December, and it's the Can-Ams, and it's where all the countries come in, and it's actually in Phoenix, Arizona, which is really cool. I'm really excited. Buckle down on training and have to eat right again.
Let's talk about what it has to eat right looks like. So are you on a strict diet? And
I try to be, like I have CrossFit in the morning, so I get done around like 10:30, and so I have a protein shake, and that'll last me through like 2 o'clock, and then I'll maybe make some broccoli and chicken and all fun stuff to eat. And
you're talking. I know. I understand.
yeah, and then I'll reward myself for being like, "Hey, you drank like 2 water bottles today. Like, you deserve a little fun-sized Kit Kat." And that's what I do. So I give myself a little treat. And I actually don't like bread, so I don't eat bread a lot. Oh man, and then I eat what is for dinner,
Yeah, that's good. So, and the training is pretty intense. How many hours a day?
I probably go to CrossFit for an hour, and I do that 2 days a week, and then I go to swimming 5 to 6 days a week for 2 hours, roughly 2 hours. Really long.
Yeah, I know. At training, you have to be disciplined in all areas, especially the eating and all that. I love the reward thing. Maybe I should try to pick that up, the half a Kit Kat for 2 bottles of water. Well, the amount of water I drink, I'd be eating bags of Kit Kats. I love that. So I want to know what words of motivation and inspiration that you have to share with the rest of the world on people that are out there that have had stories similar to yours, in the tragedies and things like that. What you would tell them to uplift them and inspire them and motivate them to keep continuing and living on?
It's gonna sound really cheesy, but the Meet the Robinsons movie from Disney, and he says, "Just keep moving forward," and that's real, because you just gotta keep moving forward. Like, today's not gonna be yesterday, and tomorrow's not gonna be today. So you always have to look on the bright side and say I didn't do well in training. Well, there's always tomorrow. So definitely try to make yourself feel better, and emotionally, it's not all physical. You always have to keep your mental game strong. So and homeschooling has really helped with that, because I'm a painter, and I I tend to lose that side of myself because I'm like, okay, I'm an athlete. Oh, I have to drink this protein shake and I have to do 100 sit-ups or something. So like I always lose the mental part of that. So always like keeping yourself in check. And I'm a big fan of like my mom just bought me a calendar chart, and it's filled with like sticky notes like, hey, Vin, you need to change your shoes today. So I very schedule based, but I always think it's my responsibility to keep myself in check and to remind myself like why am I doing this, and just to prove to my brothers and sisters I'm better than them.
I was going to say, I want to know, what is your why?
You know, I look up to my brothers and sisters so much because my oldest brother is 35 now. So, you know, from the time I was so young, I remember being at his basketball games, and, you know, he won like the big trophy. And so like I always strive to be like all my brothers and sisters, because they were like they're really good athletes, and, you know, always trying to be like them. So I'm excited.
You are a very wise young woman, and I love that you talked about the mental part of the game and being focused that way. What are some of the things that you do to stay mentally focused and prepared?
I'm really lucky because I really like my swim team, and I really like my CrossFit trainer. I have private sessions, but, you know, I'm not really competitive, and I like to keep things really loose. So I think when you're in an atmosphere, if you were like, oh, I don't want to go to practice today, or I don't want to do this and that, you always have to remember like, oh, well, my friend Corinne's gonna be there, so that's the bright side. And like I really like my CrossFit trainer Heath. He's really fun, and you know, I always have to make sure I'm having fun. Like if I'm not having fun, there's no point of going to practice for 2 hours.
Yeah. So what I heard you saying there is that when not only thinking about the negative side of things, or you're tired today, or you don't want to do this, or you don't want to eat broccoli, you'd rather just eat Kit Kats all day. The thing is picking out the positive things out of your situation and making it better and seeing the good in everything, because when we focus on the negative, we're going to get negative. So it sounds like you're really focusing on that positive to uplift you and motivate you and push you forward.
Yeah, like I'm a pretty positive person, so I never let myself get to the place where I'm like, well, I got last today, so I'm just gonna be mad for the rest of the week. So you never gotta focus on it. You always have to think about what's the end game. You know, you always have to make sure you're having fun. If you're not having fun, there's no point.
Absolutely. If you're not having fun in life, you are not living. We heard it here from Haven, her mom, Shelley. Shelley, what is life like now? You've seen your beautiful young daughter grow up blossom into this beautiful, talented young woman with such a great spirit and a winning attitude. How do you feel now?
You know, I'm not surprised, just because she's just always been positive from the time that we brought her into the family. It's fun to see. Like, I have to say, it was pretty heavy when we first got her, and I would feel that responsibility of, you know, of course I think all my children are miracles, but she has.
But I'm extra special.
She's an extra miracle.
But you know, you realize, okay, I've been assigned to raise this miracle child that was literally saved from the fire, saved from, you know, and I just so was conscious of wanting to do right by her, wanting to equip her. I think too many parents want to protect their children from all of the outer things, and I would rather equip her, because the thing is people are going to stare. If I try to get between that, or try to, you know, get angry because, oh, that person was staring at her, she's going to go through her whole life with that attitude. And so, you know, we get to laughing about, you know, catching people. She does funny things, like she'll realize that someone's going to turn around and look behind her, after they pass her, and she'll turn around and jump, like, and they're just like, oh, like we make it really fun. But I think it's so important for people to accept what they have. Like, this is the life she's going to live, and we can't go in front of our kids and think that we're going to protect them from everything that's going to come their way. They have to be equipped, and they have to have the attitude to know, hey, I'm strong enough to handle that. I'm not going to, her friends, her high school friends, they get really offended, when they walk with her and they're like, that guy was staring at me. And she's like, just don't worry about it. Like, I don't even notice it. You don't have to be offended for me. I'm okay. And then that makes them okay, because everyone wants to do the best that they can. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, oh, I hope I can offend a handicapped person today. But everyone's so different. Like, how she wants to be treated isn't how some of her friends want to be treated. So there's not a map out there for any of the public to know exactly how someone wants to be treated. So I just always wanted her to have a view of the world that was welcoming and to believe the best out of people. And so that's what I really, really tried to teach her.
You are a remarkable woman, and I have so much respect and admiration for you as a parent myself, and what you've done. And I mean, obviously this was meant to be. There's no mistakes in life, and this was, it was already happening in the making before it even happened. So I truly believe that. And so Haven, I want to know where we're going to be able to find you on social media. I know you have to be coming out with a book one day, or 2 or 3 or 4.
I'm working on one right now.
Good. Okay, good. I look forward to seeing that. You have to let us know when that comes out.
My Instagram is Haven Faith Shepherd, and Shepherd is spelled like German Shepherd. And you can find me on Facebook too under Haven Faith Shepherd. All managed by her, so don't think you're contacting me. I think that's it.
Okay, and also Shelley, I know that you have a nonprofit organization. Is that correct? You're working with, or?
Yes. Well, we work with Touch Alive Foundation, which is who goes and they also work in Ghana, and then we started a motivational speaking where we do school assemblies, all about it's cool to be different, and Haven just brings that to life. We actually use big fold-out posters of all the kids, but the kids in the audience don't know that they're all our children and in our family. And we had a son with dyslexia. We had a perfectionist. She can talk about adoption. She can talk about being a minority. She can talk about, having a handicap. And just, she truly has always believed that it really was cool to be different. And I think that's really her strongest message. I mean, she's just 15, so she doesn't really understand how powerful that is for kids, but they just flock to her. And, one of the best things that ever happened is we left a school assembly and one of the teachers came out and she was crying, and a little boy that had a different hand that he kept it hidden in his pocket. She was like, I just can't believe. And he got back to his class. He was always shy and withdrawn. And he stood up and he said, I have had a moment. And he lifts his deformed hand and he says, it's cool to be different. And she was just crying. And you did that. You did that. And I said, Haven, if it wasn't for anyone else today but that little boy, he's going to always remember that, and we sent a t-shirt home with him and stuff. And so just to know, because kids really struggle and they all want to be the same, and they're not the same, then we're not supposed to be the same. And I love seeing that. So we started this school assembly, and it's really powerful, and because she's speaking from her life and it's the truth, it's not something that she puts on. And so that is Truth Rising, and we're just getting off the ground, but I think that's where we really find our passion.
I love that. That is amazing. And you do make a huge impact. And again, I think you'll begin to understand more and more as you grow into your age and, just all these things in life, because I'm also on the board of directors of youth eating disorders and working with young kids, young boys and girls, having suffered from eating disorders growing up for over 20 years. I realized what it felt like to be different, because I had body dysmorphia and a lot of different things that and I was an athlete. I was playing soccer, and I was healthy and all these things, but my mind wasn't healthy, and I had a lot of things to learn. And now I speak to people on it because, being in the health and wellness industry, I always want people to feel and look their best. It's not really about what we all look like on the outside. It's about what's going on the inside. And you definitely have both. And, I just commend you both on this and your journey, and I would love to follow you. Also, Shelley Shepard is also on social media, and we would like to follow you on your other stuff as well.
Truth Rising.
Truth Rising. Okay. Thank you so much. And I also want to give a special shout out to my sponsor at Quest Nutrition. We brought you some yummy stuff today. So, okay, good. I know. She's been so patient too. She's in her bathing suit. We were going to maybe go swimming, but I'm not in swimming mood today. I'm not going to lie. So, Waffle, you guys are going to have to fight over that one, and you're going to want to fight over it because it's good. So that's a Waffle Quest protein bar. And then also Legendary Foods. Shout out to you guys. Amazing nut butters, almond butters. So you can have that as well. And then, sorry, Dan, I'm giving away your chocolate protein cookie. So you got the chocolate one there and the chocolate chip one. So you guys can both have those. So you can tell us what you think. Also, my new skincare line, TLC Unleashed line, I was telling you guys about it. So it's helping you keep your supple skin and keeping you feeling good and looking good. So you can all use these, are all natural ingredients. So I'm going to leave these with both of you today so you can try them. Always adding something into the beauty regimen. And I just want to thank you again for your time and sharing your heart with us today. I adore you so much, and we're going to have to give you more hugs before I leave. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Make sure you go find Haven Shepherd and Shelley Shepard on their social media. Haven Faith Shepherd, and it's spelled SHEPHERD. Did I get it?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks again to you guys for listening and tuning in today, and we will see you next time. God bless.